Welcome to another edition of the Bruins Beat with Jimmy Murphy and Joe Gill here on CLNS Media. I am Jimmy Murphy. Joe Gill is with me. Mr. Gill, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm in my new palace in Groton and recovering from my axe injury, so I'm doing well.
Groton? You mean like, are we talking cheese here? What are you talking about?
Oh, no. Do you know what Groton, Mass is?
I do know who Groton Mass is.
I
was just trying to be a stand-up comedian, but I'm sitting down and it didn't work.
All right. Ooh,
there we go.
I'm here all night.
Here all night, my friend. As some of the people that will listen to this podcast did not know, as we were segueing and sort of lining it up, we were talking cheap wine and cheap IPAs, and
yes.
they don't sponsor us, but I would love for them to, so I'll give them a plug. I really think, Joe, Wegmans, check it out. You and anyone else who likes tasty beers and tasty wine, they've got great samples. I've actually kind of manipulated it where I can get a buzz if I go there from 3:30 to 5:30 on a Friday afternoon.
Just walk around like changing shirts.
The thing is they change shifts every 20 minutes, so but it is what it is.
It did, but yeah.
Well, I mean, you get these interns and they don't know, and they're just like, yeah, sure, have another. So
the promo girls, yeah, I got you.
I definitely think it's a good place to go if you want to taste some new beers and new wines. Wegmans is the place to go. Let's get into the Bruins Beat right now. A lot has happened, Joe, since we last chatted here on Bruins Beat on CLNS Media. I had Joe Haggerty on for the second episode, and because of life happening for both of us, we just haven't really been able to nail it down and do this third episode. Here we are now. We're like mid-July. We're definitely deep into the off season. We've had, we don't usually have this. We've had a expansion draft. We had the NHL entry draft. We've had free agency kickoff. There's still free agents trickling in. There's players in arbitration, one of them being Ryan Spooner, who I'm sure we'll get to in a bit. But I want to get your impression, Joe, if you can just think back to, heading into the expansion draft and where they are now. What's your take on the Bruins offseason so far?
Well, Colin Miller, I mean, he's kind of one of those guys that I guess just did not blossom to what we wanted. And everybody, said it was Claude before now playing the young kids, but then he wasn't getting ice time even with Bruce Cassidy. So it looks like he may have been, maybe not what we thought he was when we traded for him. The thing that kind of scratching my head, Jimmy, is about, McIntyre, great signing. I liked him when he came up here playing backup. He kind of was set to fail because the Bruins were playing like absolute dog shit when he was up here, but I think he played well in that. But you tell me about Malcolm Subban. Why? I don't see it. I don't understand why they signed him.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
But I'm interested more, like when you were coming into this offseason, all right, you look at their lineup and you kind of say in your head what they need, what they don't need, what they should do. All right, they went into the draft, or they went in. Let's just say they went into the expansion draft and the draft. So it was almost like, I mean, not for nothing, it's two trade deadlines combined in one, and we all know since the salary cap era began, I think you'll agree with me that the entry draft has become really the trade deadline. The trade deadline's a freaking joke, right? I mean, this is when we really see action. There were a lot of moves made. I mean, those first 2 days into the draft, there were some moves made, man. And, so I guess your expectations, and if you can think back, because we didn't have a chance to talk, think back to how you felt when you came out of draft weekend, what you thought of the Bruins at that point. Did they meet your expectations? Did they do what you wanted? Were you happy with what they did or didn't do? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, we all talked about defensive help. I don't know if they did a whole lot on that. I think they were just waiting for all these kids to really come to fruition here. I mean, I think a lot, I guess the camp they just had with all the rookies and so forth, I think that went pretty well. I mean, some of the kids really sparkle, think they're going to, DeBrusque and, Bork and stuff like that. I think those guys are really going to probably break the lineup. People are already having them, actually on Krejci's line and things like that.
By the way, Joe, don't mean to interrupt you, though. If Bjork makes the team, now we're both pretty much the same age, right? I mean, yes. Early 40s here. You remember that weirdo, I think she was Finnish or she's from those Viking countries. Bjork, the singer. Remember her?
Oh yes, I have one of her songs. Yes, right, she's from Iceland actually. But.
Yeah. Do we? I mean, does TD Garden play that when he scores or?
Oh sure.
I mean, that was kind of I don't know about you, but when she was really hitting it in the States. It was kind of like that, college.
Oh yeah.
Late night hookup, sex music with the hippie girl.
Yeah, doing a hit of acid.
Is that cool music or no?
No, she didn't.
Yeah, I'm not thinking so either.
Yeah, that was like a late night and doing weird stuff that you shouldn't be doing.
We're gonna forget the fact that he spells his name the same exact way as that
singer from Iceland.
Freaky early 90s Iceland singer. We're going to forget that. But, all right, go on with your thoughts. Sorry.
Tangent. Then the kid they drafted in the first round from Finland, I believe. I'm not really feeling anything in the loins. You know what I mean? It's not too warm.
Yeah, really. They were comparing him to Paul Coffey, by the way.
Oh, God.
Settle down, Beavis. Speaking of early 90s here.
Are we talking Paul Coffey, Edmonton, Pittsburgh? Are we talking Paul Coffey, Bruins? Because it could be.
I don't care if we're talking Paul Coffey, Bruins. No, from what my sources tell me in the scouts I know around the NHL, they went completely off the board like they did 2 years ago with Frederick. Yep. So settle down. I mean, and it's not nice to the kid either. You know what I mean? I don't care if he's really good. You just don't put those lofty expectations on anyone, let alone somebody who is probably going to suck.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think they kind of lucked out with the three kids they drafted a couple of years ago because they're all coming along pretty nicely.
Yeah.
So, they lucked out there. I mean, I'm just not I'm not too excited. They haven't done much. I think I saw an article out there, maybe it was on Comcast, maybe it was Joe, what have you, that the Bruins are just banking on in trying to get too young. I'm like, now too young is bad. Like, what are we doing here? It's like they can't win. I think they're doing exactly what they need to do, like the Chicago Blackhawks blueprint. Get rid of some of the junk, like the Jimmy Hayeses of the world, and bring up some of the young kids and take your lumps and move. Just watch them mature. I mean, that's what they got to do. I mean, they're not winning a cup for a good couple years, right? At least. And I think they just need to have these kids get in there, get some NHL playing time, and just really, grow into their bodies and grow into the game.
I'm with you, bud. And, I'll tell you, I came out of that whole draft weekend into free agency. I wasn't expecting much. First of all, I don't care what team we're talking about. I wasn't expecting much. I mean, this was a crummy draft by all accounts. And that's no offense to the kids in it. It's just, compared to drafts we've had in the past couple of years, this wasn't exactly a great draft. I mean, I heard my good friend Pierre McGuire say, look, this is the worst draft since 2002. I mean, 2003 was probably the best draft of our generation, of literally maybe of you and I, our lifetime, Joe. But, he said, look, this is one of those drafts where you just take what you can get. But my problem was there was a kid who I've kind of, I don't know, through people I know, told me to keep an eye on him. I kind of watched him, and I got excited because I felt like with a crapshoot draft like this, he might be available where the Bruins were picking, and he was, and they didn't take him. And then the guy that was in charge of drafting for the Bruins, Keith Gretzky, who's now in Edmonton under their former GM, Peter Chiarelli, takes him at 22nd overall, and that's Kyle Yamamoto, who, I don't know, I kind of look at this kid like Josh Hosang with the Islanders, but with less luggage, and he's he's so dynamic. He's very raw. I think, I don't see him breaking Oilers lineup now or maybe in 3 years, but he's a sick talent there. And in a draft like this, I don't know, man. That's maybe to me where scouting really comes in. You know what I mean? Where really it's more important to have those guys who have gone into the boondocks, who have gone and made those trips into northern Manitoba or wherever it's been and driven through blizzards to find that diamond in the rough. And here this guy is, and he's right there for you. And then your director of scouting from last year takes him and you don't. That's what stung me.
Well, you know what? I mean, the Peter Chiarelli train, I heard that's starting to derail in Edmonton anyway. So give it time before he destroys that franchise as well. I'm not going to worry about Edmonton at all. I think,
yeah,
he's gonna kill that team too. I mean, they were talking about
really. See, Joe, you and I think what we need to do, we're going to have an episode since we've got a lot of time to kill in the summer here and not a lot of topics. We're going to have an episode where we sit down in person with a bottle of Jameson in front of us.
Okay.
And we're going to duel on that because I completely, 100% disagree with you. I am sick and tired of Peter Chiarelli being scapegoated in this town, let alone Claude Julien. You want to point some blame at people, you can point at the guy we'll get to him. But you can point, and this is a good segue into one of our topics we want to talk about right now, because really there wasn't much to talk about with the offseason here.
JACOBS, gotcha.
You can point at the guy who decided to stiff youth hockey for the last 24 years here in Boston.
Brutal.
Okay? And then is elected into the Hall of Fame as a builder.
This is before it came out. Granted.
That's fine, it was before it came out, but he still did it before it came out.
Yes.
Okay? And who do you think got him into the Hall of Fame?
Oh, anyone he licked, whoever's undercarriage he licked.
Him. No, him.
Oh, that's right, he's on the board, yeah.
Come on, dude. Jeremy Jacobs runs the NHL. When are people going to get that?
He's a reason for the last lockout.
And okay, so let's get into this story, Joe, for all listeners that don't know. 3 youths from Hyde Park, Mass.
Yep.
We're looking to get some funding for their local hockey rink and other recreational or park projects around their community. And they did a lot of research why it wasn't there and why their hockey rink hasn't had a dime dedicated to it since 1990. Now, at the time, 1990 was the MDC. And for those who don't know, those youngins that are listening to us right now, or people that are not from Boston, MDC pretty much came to creation because of the great Bobby Orr. And when Bobby Orr basically just blew hockey up here and made hockey God for a number of years here in the Boston area, the state created a committee called the MDC, and they took care of hockey rinks and basketball courts and pools and all that. And then as time went on, I think it became, I think it was actually after this whole incident took place, more late 90s into the 2000s, it became DCR. But back to the story. So these kids go in there and they're trying to figure out, why haven't we been able to get a good hockey rink here? Why hasn't anything been done? And they did a lot of research and they stumbled upon a contract between the former, when it went up, it was called the Fleet Center. So the people that were building the Fleet Center, led by Jeremy Jacobs, the owner of the Bruins, and the DCR, or I guess at that time the MDC. And there was an agreement made contingent upon them being granted the permission to build this building. Now, I give Jeremy Jacobs a lot of credit. He put way more money into it than most most rink owners or team owners do. They're always looking for tax money. I give him a little credit there that he was putting most of his money into it. But in order to get this building built, he signed a deal with the city that every year that this rink, that is now the TD Garden, was in existence, he would hold 3 fundraisers a year and donate all the funds to the DCR to do what these kids were looking to do, and that's build up their rink in Hyde Park, which has not been renovated since 1990. They did their due diligence. God bless these kids. And I'm going to tell you right now for our listeners, and we'll publish it on CLNS Media. It'll also be on my website, murphyshockeylaw.net. I'm working on a story on this right now to further show you the fraud that Jeremy Jacobs is. No. I mean, it's disgusting. It really is.
Oh, I mean, I completely agree with you.
Has
I mean,
not. Wait. Let's just let our listeners know that everyone hasn't heard this, and you can find this. Go to Boston Globe or Boston.com and Google, TD Garden, rink, Hyde Park. It will come up. Do it up there. We'll post the link. We've posted it on Twitter. Both of us have put this up there on Facebook. He has not honored this deal at all. No, he didn't just do it a few years and stop, or do it a year here, there. He has not honored it for 24 goddamn years. Okay? And this is a guy that somehow, in November, is going into the Hall of Fame as a quote-unquote builder. Would that not be building what he was supposed to do? And you tell me, besides his own profits, namely that building and everything else around this town and everything in Buffalo and Delaware North, you tell me, what has he built for anyone else but himself, Joe? What has this fraud built for anyone else than himself? I want your take on this, Joe.
Oh, well, I know he sucked forever. I mean, he was responsible for the last lockout. I mean,
he's responsible for both. He's responsible for 2004-05, a whole season, and he's responsible for that joke in 2012 where we just basically had a season in 2013.
I mean, I'm just waiting for the next lockout. I mean, it's every, 6 to 8 years. I mean, it's just pretty much going to happen again. We know that.
No, but really, I mean, off the top of your head, you follow the game like I do. You're a very knowledgeable guy when it comes to Bruins and it comes to hockey in the New England area. I mean, when you say Jeremy Jacobs, does the word builder ever click in your head?
No, destroyer. Money swindler. Let's see.
Well, I'll tell you what does, and I hope when we mix this in and we put it out for the listeners on CLNS Media, we can find a soundbite here. Hint, hint to our producers. It reeks of Montgomery Burns in The Simpsons, and I've been saying this forever. He looks like, he talks like, and he acts like Montgomery Burns. He is the real-life version, and I swear to God, the creators are hockey fans, and they know this, and he is the epitome of Montgomery Burns.
I mean, he doesn't live here. You know what I mean? So he has no really vested interest. You got, Bob Kraft. He's a New England guy. He's a season ticket holder. That's why he loves this team so much. He puts his money. Jeremy J, this is an investment to him. This don't mean shit. All he wants is concessions. That's all he cares about.
It wouldn't matter if he was from, he's from Buffalo. Everything's an investment. Okay? And let me tell you this. When they sent that news release out that he had been inducted in the Hall, first of all, I'm going to tell our listeners right there. I know this for a fact. The Bruins had Cam Neely, who's on the board, push this beyond belief. And it went to within 1 hour of submitting and announcing the selections. It was a deadlock. And I don't know who broke it in Jacobs' favor. I'm trying to find out. But I am telling you, that's how close it was. And I have a good feeling that it was fixed. When it came down to that point, it was fixed. And I get it. I get that he's done a lot for the owners. I get that he's done some things for small market, and people say, well, Nashville wouldn't have made the Stanley Cup final if not for Jeremy Jacobs. Yes and no. Bullshit. I don't think he gives a shit about Nashville. But
dude, Do you remember? Do you remember during the parade before, what he said to McNeely? That was another thing. He like completely
and yet he's basically his puppet. Cam Neely is Jeremy Jacobs' puppet.
Who would have thought? Cam Neely of all guys.
I'm just trying to tell you, like, this is such a crock, and it is so wonderful that this story came out within under a month of him being inducted as a quote-unquote builder. Okay, and back to what I was saying in the press release. Joe, in the press release, go back and read it. It's public knowledge. It talks about how the Bruins Foundation has dedicated over $23 million to charities since 1993. Okay, here's my 2 points on this. A, whose money is that they're dedicating? Oh, that's right. Those are dedications and donations from fans, from companies, not from the Bruins. So it's not their money that they're donating. So first of all, fraud there. Okay? Second of all right, we're sitting here and they're saying they've donated $23 million since 1993. Really? So, like, you think that's a lot? Because when I was living in Montreal, PK Subban donated $10 million of his own money out of his own pocket to a hospital. Not fans' money.
Montreal got upset about that and traded them.
Yeah.
They weren't included.
Not fans' money, not companies' money, his own pocket money. His money. Okay? And that was in one day. And the Bruins are bragging about $23 million in, 1993? So we're kind of like...
25 years, yeah.
Yeah,
25
okay.
Years.
So...
I don't math well, but, you know.
You don't shut up. I mean, this is ridiculous, and it's such a joke.
It's disgusting.
And I'm going to be there, Joe, and I'm going to do my best to make sure that we do a podcast live from there, and you better goddamn be free that weekend. We are going to the Hall of Fame, and we will be at Mark Recchi's party for the Hall of Fame.
I wish I could get up.
And we will be. No, you're coming.
Okay.
You better cut the lawn. You better do whatever the heck your wife needs you to do right now.
Ducking my ass up there.
Like, you get in her good graces right now, because I will get us credentialed for that, and we will be going to the Hockey Hall of Fame. In fact,
when is that?
I just got my 3D glasses from the Hockey Hall of Fame. We'll talk about that in another podcast. But we will be going to that, okay?
When is that, my friend?
And we will be there, and I am challenging Jeremy Jacobs right now, and I'll gladly send a formal email to sit down with us on a podcast and explain himself over the DCR, over all the things that he's done to not build the game but hurt the game, and show us how he's built the game. Jeremy Jacobs, the gauntlet is laid down. Here on Bruins Beat, you have been challenged.
The Bruins beat down on Jeremy Jacobs by Jimmy Murphy. It's coming, baby.
How about you? Yeah, hey, don't leave me hanging, bud. You're a teammate here. All right? By Jimmy Murphy and Joe Gill.
Joe and Joe versus Jacobs.
We are challenging Jeremy Jacobs. We are offering him a come on. We will give him free reign to explain why he should be going into the Hall of Fame as a builder. There you go. The challenge is laid down.
Building of his empire. That's about it.
And why do you get the feeling that this is not going to happen?
Oh, he sucks, man. I hope he doesn't. I just...
Did you notice that not even Charlie could give a quote?
Charlie. God, what a puppet he is, too. It just made me sick when they hold up the cup.
He's too busy riding horses.
Unbelievable. Do you know what? If they spent some money in the friggin' late 80s when that team was such a friggin' juggernaut, they could have probably beat the Oilers one of those 2 years.
Well, that's what I don't get about why Cam Neely is such a defender. I mean, again, he's paying his paycheck. I get it, right? I mean, obviously, I get. But at the same time, it's like you pointed out, he publicly shot him down. When really, it's not Cam Neely's fault that they didn't win the cup when he was a player. It's Jeremy Jacobs' fault that he didn't spend 2 cents extra to get that extra player to help Ray Bourque and Cam Neely and all those greats, Andy Moog, Adam Oates, all those guys who came through the Boston Garden and put on the black and gold, put on the Spoke Beat, God bless them, when you and I were fans and we became Bruins fans. It's not Cam Neely's fault. And how dare he say that? And that's why it kills me right now where Cam Neely is. And I know that Cam Neely does not like me for a lot of things I've printed and said on Twitter and said on.
He doesn't like any press.
Yeah, I'm pretty hard on him, though, but he's pretty hard on me. But I'd love to have Cam Neely on our podcast because I don't have anything against him. In fact, I feel for him. I feel for anyone that works for Jeremy Jacobs or has to work, or it gets even worse, or has to work with Charlie Jacobs. So,
dude, when I was out of work, I saw that they were hiring Delaware North. I'm like, there's no way I could work for him. I mean, no way. I couldn't even do it. Couldn't even apply. Working for the Bruins would be great, but I couldn't work for that clown.
You know what I would do though?
I'd rather be homeless.
I almost would like to fill out an application right now and say,
I dare you.
I'd love to work for you, but could you please give the money owed to the DCR and all the local rinks?
I wonder how that's going to get fixed. Because if he goes and does it now, it's even worse. Just accept it. You were a swindling bastard, and don't go and try to fix it now. It's a little late. It's 25 years later.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just look. I think it's great. I do think he has done some great things. I'm not going to take that away from him. But this idea lately from Bruins Nation, and go ahead. I want them to shoot at us right now, Joe, but I think you're going to agree with me. Don't give me this. Well, he spends to the cap every year.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Big freaking deal.
Jimmy Hayes, great. He was a great spend. It was awesome.
Joe, let me ask him, who created that cap?
Would it be Jerry Jacobs?
Yeah. So why are we giving him credit to follow a game plan that he created? Big deal.
Ooh, I know.
Do you think if there was not a salary cap, the Bruins, are you in agreement with me, they still would have won a Stanley Cup? Are we in agreement?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. We've blasted the man enough. Let's move on right now. What else is on your mind, Joe? I mean, lots of listeners. Yeah, what do you want to see for the rest of the summer from the Boston Bruins?
So the people and myself, and I've seen people, Mark Aldred from Black and Gold, tell people to calm down about Pastrnak. But why? What are we waiting for here? Just lock the kid up. Let's go. What's your take?
My take, Joe, is it's okay. So I'm sure you saw my tweets where I disagreed, and I already did it earlier on this podcast right now. I don't blame Peter Chiarelli, but I definitely think that Don Sweeney's waiting for Peter Chiarelli to set the market with Leon Draisaitl. All right, and I think the problem is Chiarelli might be waiting for Don Sweeney to do it.
Oh God, here we go.
It's kind of like a who blinks first.
Yeah.
And look, whoever does it, I don't blame what the other contract is. Look, I would not. I got to say something right now. I know I defend Peter Chiarelli, but I also defend pretty much every GM right now, Joe. I got to tell you right now, being an NHL GM is not easy because there is an ever-evolving market. And, young kids, let's disregard Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, and maybe Jack Eichel will put in that category. Maybe. I'm not really sold on Jack Eichel yet. It's another discussion, but...
Well, he gets a bit, he bitches and complains a lot for, 20-year-old, so...
Okay, but all I'm saying is, let's disregard the absolute epitome, superstar, young talent, right? Let's talk about the second tier, and that's the big thing right now, Joe, and... I got to tell you, man, if we're still doing this podcast in 2019 or 2020, we're not going to have much to talk about, man.
Well, Jimmy, I got a challenge right now. So why do you like Chiarelli so much? I need to know.
Well, you don't think all right, you want the honest? I'm gonna throw it all right now.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I can't. We're going to do another show where we, like I said, we're going to save it for another show maybe
all right.
In the upcoming month. But short story, like short synopsis. I mean, I don't know about you, man. I'm not going to lie. I was Bruins fans growing up. You know, like, dude, 39 years.
All right. Yeah, I agree. I mean,
okay, wait. Let me finish. Okay, yeah. So 39 years. I mean, for Red Sox fans, there was 2004. For Bruins fans, there's 2011.
Yeah.
Okay? Theo Epstein. Did he screw up after 2004? Oh, yeah. Yeah, he did. People kind of turn a blind eye to that, though, right? Why?
They want to know 07.
Okay.
And he won in 04. First one in 86 years.
Okay, so he won in 07.
Yep.
Well, guess what? Chiarelli put the team in place to win in 2013, and it's not his fault that Tuukka Rask shit the bed in the last 2 minutes of Game 6. Okay, it's not. Wait, and I love Tuukka. I'm not blaming Tuukka, but it's not his fault that the team. There's a point where it becomes the responsibility of the team on the ice. Okay,
gotcha.
He put the Bruins organization in place to win 2 cups in 3 years. They failed to do so in 2013. I don't blame that on Peter Chiarelli, and anyone does, in my opinion, is a goddamn idiot because he wasn't on the ice. Okay, and same goes for 2014. He wasn't on the ice. What he did in that year after, I put a lot of blame on him, and I'm totally with everybody there. He screwed it up, and he deserved. I don't know if he deserved to be fired, but he definitely deserved to be raked through the coals and questioned. I think he should have survived it and given more of a chance to come out of it, but he definitely deserved the ridicule he got. But please do not tell me that what happened in Game 6 against Chicago is a GM's fault.
No, not at all.
Okay.
That series, if
he wins that, Joe, my question to you is: are we having this conversation?
Probably
no,
not.
We're not.
Probably not.
Okay.
But,
so what I'm trying to say
Andrew
is, Joe, I look at it this way. You take over an organization that in 2006-07 when he took over, okay, if there had been a women's hockey league like there is now, would have been more popular than that, okay?
All right.
And that's no shot on women's hockey, but if there had been a floor hockey team, would have been more popular than that. A men's team, okay? All I'm trying to say is they were dirt. Nobody gave a shit about the Bruins when Peter Chiarelli took over. Did he screw up hiring Dave Lewis as his first coach? You're goddamn right he did. But you know what? He corrected that very fast.
We closed.
And let's rewind, though. Before he took over, okay, are you going to tell me, please spare me, Joe, tell me you're not one of the guys who credits Jeff Gorton for Mark Savard as the HR.
I was just going to say his name. But Patrice Bergeron getting the Rask trade.
No, but please don't. That's fine. That's fine. Dude, I totally agree with you. But please don't tell me that Jeff Gorton got Zdeno Chara to sign a contract here.
Well, Zdeno was in Ottawa, so that was probably Chiarelli, yes.
And where's Mark Savard live? Where's he from?
Is he from Ontario?
He's from Ottawa.
Well, there you go.
Happy birthday to Mark Savard.
Who is he friends with? Mark Savard. Okay. Mark Savard and Zdeno Chara became Bruins because of Peter Chiarelli. I'm sorry for the Bruins if we're ratting you out right now and you broke some rules, but we know what's up. I'm telling you that's fact. So please spare me that, okay? And that was the start of the turnaround. And from there on, he went all in. He went all in. And did he sacrifice the future? Did he make some kind of, spur-of-the-moment signings? Let's lock this guy up because he's part of our chemistry? Yeah, you're goddamn right he did. But what do the Red Sox do? What do the Patriots do? They do the same thing. But unfortunately for Peter, it didn't turn out that way.
Nope.
Okay? But he did what he had to do to make the Bruins relevant again in this city, and he accomplished that. And for that is why I defend Peter Chiarelli, and I think it's bogus that people will look and say, well, if he signs Draisaitl to this contract, he's screwing up the... He doesn't control what the Bruins do. The Bruins do what they do. And Don Sweeney is his own man, and he's going to do what he does, and I'm sure he would want us to say that. So I think this bogus stuff about Chiarelli is affecting the Bruins still with how Pasternak's contract is signed. It's complete bullshit. It's bullshit.
He haunts us, Jimmy. He's a fucking ghost. He haunts us.
He's not a ghost.
My whole thing is...
We already discussed the ghost.
Jimmy, let me get the floor, my friend. 2014, what did he do for that team to make at the trade deadline to get them over the hump and have them win another cup? What, is that Mazzaros? I'm sorry, was 2014 Mazzaros? I'm pretty sure. So. Did nothing. His trade deadline moves were shit, beside Peverley and Kelly, okay? Outside those guys, they were shit. You got to agree with that. They were terrible. He was not good at the trade deadline at all. He did nothing at the trade deadline. He's giving out no trade clauses like candy.
Shane 90 was a good character guy.
Yeah. That was the cup year. That's when they won the cup. I mean, I'm talking about after the cup. What did he do? Post-cup, what did he do for a trade deadline? Nothing that I recall. Brian Rolston, Zamner, who's the other clump?
Hey,
Mike.
Totally agree with you, man. But
Mike Motto.
Here's a question. If we do get Mr. Jacobs on our podcast from the Hall of Fame in Toronto in November, that's a question we ask him. Should we not ask Jeremy Jacobs? Was he acting under your orders? Did he have restraints on him? We'll look him right in the eye and we'll ask him that. Because I am telling you right now, from people that are currently in the Bruins organization, he had restraints on him after they won a cup until he was fired. I'm telling you that. As far as I'm concerned, that's fact. He was hogtied. And he's on restraint. People say, well, wait, but they spent to the cap. Well, no. If you look at it, they didn't spend to the cap. Every year after that, they went down a little more. And then when Sweeney took over a lot more, I'm telling you, there were restraints. He was not acting alone. Did he make mistakes? Yes. And he has told me that. He probably won't go on record right now and say that, but I've had him say to him, yeah, I made mistakes. But I'm telling you, there needs to stop being the singling out of him and of the coach. There needs to stop being that. I'm not saying Claude Julien is free of mistakes at all. And you can ask anyone who covered the Bruins with me from 2007, okay, from 2007-08 season till I stopped covering them in 2013. You can ask anyone. Claude Julien, I'm not like the pet here, the teacher's pet. Trust me, man. Claude Julien got mad at me plenty of times. I've had on the record and off the record conversations where he's completely blasted me. But I'm telling you, there were orders from above. And as we go on this summer, I promise you we'll discuss this. Until then, this is Jimmy Murphy. He's Joe Gill. This has been another edition of the Bruins Beat here on CLNS Media. We'll talk to you next time.